Good day to you from Houston, Texas, USA. There's nothing like a UFC pay-per-view week. Am I wrong about that? Am I wrong about that? Feels like an awfully big deal. Appreciate you checking back in with us. It is episode 2 of Anikdotes presented by Draftkings. I am UFC lead play-by-play announcer Jon Anik, and we have got a lot to get to today. UFC 265, Lewis versus Gane is upon us. It is live from Toyota Center here in Houston this Saturday, and yours on ESPN Plus pay-per-view. We're going to get into all of the pay-per-view main card odds, some propositions of note. It's amazing how many offerings there are right now at Draftkings Sportsbook. It's a little bit overwhelming, quite frankly, how many different ways you can actually bet this fight card. We also have some questions from you in our Q&Anik segment later. And where exactly is my action going to be this weekend? Obviously, it will not be on the UFC as I am calling those fights, but I will have some golf action that I'm going to get into towards the end of the show. I'm basically betting on every other sport on the board. Any sport in the world that I am not contractually prevented from wagering on, I'm probably betting on it. I was actually going through my betting history earlier this week because I wanted to see like just how much volume I've been doing on baseball this summer because I know it has been a lot. And when I say volume, I don't mean, how much money I'm making. I mean, how many bets am I actually placing? So the week of July 5th through July 11th, I placed 64 bets, which is an average of more than 9 a day. Now, granted, some of those were golf futures, but that is like way too many bets. If you are a semi-pro bettor or somebody who classifies yourself as a sharp, you're looking at this square thinking, dude, 64 bets in a week, you're not going to make money. And I was close to even money on the week, but 64 bets from July 5th through the 11th, entirely too many. All right, UFC 265, Lewis versus Gane, just a few days away. Let us get to some main event mathematics. All right, so I will get to the pay-per-view odds for the entire main card shortly. But today's main event math is going to focus on the man who is favored, perhaps prohibitively this weekend. CirylGane out of France. He is undefeated as a pro. And every step of the way in the UFC, this man has been favored. So UFC debut against Rafael Pessoa. He closed minus 520, which means a $520 bet would yield you $100 back and your money. Dontel Mays, the opponent for CirylGane in his next outing, he closed minus 325. Opened minus 280 against Tanner the Bulldozer Bozer, closed in the minus 675 range. So obviously a lot of action came in on CirylGane in advance of that one. Fourth UFC appearance, CirylGane was bet up once again. He closed minus 450 against the former champ Junior Dos Santos. Was also the betting favorite, albeit less so in his last two fights. Both of those were 5-round main events against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, in which he was minus 250, and then Alexander Volkov minus 175. So, CirylGane has cashed every time you have bet on him. He's an undefeated mixed martial arts athlete. So certainly whatever price you have paid in the past, if you have bet on CirylGane, you have cashed. If you have faded him, as many did in the Rozenstruik fight, you paid the price. So we'll see if he can cash this weekend. He is a big favorite. DraftKings right now has CirylGane minus 380 and Derek the Black Beast Lewis at plus 290. All sorts of propositions, though. Over under 4.5 rounds. So if you believe that this fight is going to go over 4.5 rounds or go the distance, that can be had at plus 150. If you think it's under 4.5 rounds, minus 185. So I do think we're going to get a finish in this fight on one side or the other. I know Derek Lewis has said all he needs is one opening to land a bomb, and that could be good night for CirylGane. Certainly CirylGane hasn't put his last two opponents away, but I think it's sort of a lazy narrative to suggest that CirylGane is just a point fighter and not necessarily a guy who is capable of producing a finish. Derek Lewis by knockout. I think for a lot of people that are looking at the Black Beast, they're going to be looking at some of these knockout propositions. Round 1, you can have him at 12-1, goes up to 45-1 in round 5. And if you do like the Black Beast to win by submission in round 5, if you got the stones to place that bet, 200-1 if Derek Lewis wins by submission. Again, on the CirylGane side, by knockout, round 1 is plus 330, and it goes up from there, plus 650 in round 2, all the way to 25-1 in the 5th and final round. But it's a fascinating main event and a lot of ways for you to attack the board on DraftKings right now. Other main card odds, UFC 265, Casey Kenny, minus 115 against Song Yadong, who comes back at minus 105. So this is a bantamweight opener. It's been a pick'em most of the week and still sort of residing in that territory. Right now, though, Casey Kenny has moved into the slight favorite territory there. Also on the main card, it's strawweight, a rematch between Tecia Torres and Angela Hill. Tecia Torres favored -135. Angela Hill comes back at +115. Wildly interesting fight here. And both of these women, of course, have accrued a wealth of experience since they met the first time back in 2015, which, by the way, was just the second UFC appearance for both of these women. I thought Tecia Torres looked outstanding in her last two appearances. She talked a lot about enjoying competing without a crowd. We are going to have a crowd this weekend, so perhaps that bears watching. But I do expect two-way action on Tecia Torres and Angela Hill. Featured bout in the welterweight division, perhaps the fight that I am most interested in, at least in terms of the welterweight pecking order, divisional pecking order. Vicente Luque -130 against Michael Maverick Chiesa, who is +110. Chiesa's never lost in the weight class in the UFC. He is 4-0 at 170 pounds. And on the other side, Vicente Luque, I don't know if he's the most underappreciated welterweight in the world, but the body of work that he has put together in the octagon just doesn't seem to get the credit, right? The only two losses for him at all recently, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Leon Edwards, both by decision. Otherwise, he has beaten everybody. He's won 3 straight, 9 of his last 10. I do believe Luque deserves the distinction as the favorite, but I would also suggest to you, and I've heard from a lot of sharps who do like Chiesa as an underdog this weekend, stylistically, Michael Chiesa presents one of the more challenging matchups, really, for most of the guys in the top 10. Just going to try to clinch you and make for a suffocating night at the office. Vicente Luque, of course, is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt, has some tremendous takedown defense and a great submission game, but you can be sure that Chiesa is going to try to clinch and make this a floor fight, and we'll see if Luque can hold up. And, of course, on the feet, I don't have to tell most of our viewers all that Vicente Luque brings to the table. He figures to have a big advantage when it comes to the kickboxing. All right, co-main event. A lot of people have strong opinions on this. Jose Aldo -120 taking on Pedro Munoz, who is the even money underdog right now. So this elevated to the co-main event, of course, because Amanda Nunes, the bantamweight champion, unable to defend her title against Juliana Pena because she has COVID-19. Now, Jose Aldo really has visions of making a run to this bantamweight championship. And certainly Pedro Munoz might lead the league in terms of his championship hunger, but it isn't out of the realm of possibility that the winner of this fight could get fast-tracked here to a championship opportunity at 135 pounds. Munoz coming off a big win his last time out against Jimmy Rivera, and Jose Aldo has a winning streak in his own right. So I think it's properly priced. General thesis statement for me, given all that Jose Aldo has accomplished, given all of his experience, my initial thought when I see him at -120 is, that's kind of juicy, but I think Pedro Munoz is probably closer to his fighting prime, and Pedro's going to go for it, one of the more offensive fighters in that division. And then, as we mentioned, CirylGane -380 and Derek the Black Beast Lewis, your +290 underdog right now on DraftKings. And by the way, DraftKings has another great deal for you this weekend. 100-1 odds on a punch being landed during the main event, which is all but a guarantee unless something freaky happens. All you need to do is pick either main event fighter, Lewis or Gane, who you think will win, and DraftKings Sportsbook is going to give you 100-1 odds on a punch landing during the event. So new customers out there, it's a $1 bet on either main event fighter, and if a punch lands singularly during the main event, you will cash $100 in free credits. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Anik when you sign up to turn $1 into $100. It's UFC 265. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. Getting you in the game this weekend. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. Other restrictions apply. All right, can't thank you all enough for the submissions on social media for our question and answer segment. We like to call it Q&Anik. Let's get to it. All right, so for Q&Anik, we call on our esteemed executive producer Cody Merrow. He likes it when I call him Producer Cody and don't drop his surname. But Cody, I know we have polled the mixed martial arts masses in advance of another big pay-per-view offering from the UFC this weekend. What do you have for me today?
This question from Alex Hashmore. What are your opinions on the whole UFC heavyweight division? Former champion Stipe Miocic is pining for a rematch with current king Francis Ngannou. But Derek Lewis and CirylGane face off this weekend for the interim title.
Yeah, so a lot of people took issue with there being an interim title on the line this weekend. And, of course, with Nunes Pena going away, thank goodness we do have a title fight this weekend. I think the division is in good standing, but for a guy like Stipe Miocic, who has only fought once in each of the past 3 years, all of those championship fights, I don't think he's in any rush. And when I look at the pecking order in the top 10, Alex, I don't know that there's any great matchup for Stipe. Certainly, he could fight the loser of this weekend's main event, be it Derek Lewis or CirylGane. That would be a fresh matchup. But I think for Stipe, as the consensus greatest UFC heavyweight of all time, he can bide his time and try to wait for that Ngannou rematch if it does materialize. I think a lot is going to depend on what happens this weekend. How long a fight do we get? Will Francis Ngannou then put his belt on the line against this interim champion in 3 months? I don't know those answers. I like Tom Aspinall. I like Chris Daukaus and some of the young heavyweights coming up. But I do think if I'm Stipe, given the body of work and given where he is at career-wise, I think you might as well sit tight. All right, at Jon_Anik, hashtag Anikdotes. Cody, who's next?
Eric Gio asks, is MMA coach Ray Longo going to corner your twin brother Jason Anik for the brother versus brother fight?
So if you don't know that reference, I've talked a lot on social media about a possible amateur mixed martial arts fight for yours truly. It would come against my identical twin brother, Jason, at some point in 2023. We'll see if I can get myself in shape enough to actually have a 9-minute amateur MMA fight, 3-3-minute rounds. The only thing I can tell you, Eric, is that Ray Longo will not be cornering this guy. So if Jason wants Longo in the corner, you can have Longo. He's not going to be in the red corner with me. And yes, I'm getting the red corner, Jay. So yeah, Longo and I are at odds a little bit. Trainer to the stars, Ray Longo. He'll be in the opposite corner, if any. He won't be with me. All right, Cody, who's next?
Mike Harris asks, which bet should I feel more comfortable about? The Toronto Maple Leafs to win the next Stanley Cup or the Toronto Raptors to trade for Damian Lillard?
I love the city of Toronto. I love all the fans up there, and I was really rooting for the Maple Leafs, as you might expect, to beat the Canadiens in what turned out to just be an epic first-round series. So the Maple Leafs right now 14-1 to win the Stanley Cup at Draftkings Sportsbook. So that projects them as one of the top 6 or 7 favorites. So I don't see enough value to plunge on the Leafs right now at 14-1, and I would always suggest to any sports fan out there, why are you betting on your own team? Your heart's already invested. Go bet on their rival and try to soften the blow. I do like the Maple Leafs. I do like their young core, and I do think eventually they are going to break through. But I would rather see them at 20-1. And as far as the Raptors getting Damian Lillard, I know in mid-July they were rumored to be one of the front runners. I don't know how the Kyle Lowry sign and trade deal with the Miami Heat affects things for the Raptors in terms of their pursuit of Damian Lillard, but I wouldn't bet on it. All right, who's next?
Next question's from David Howland. J.A. coming at you from Braintree, Masskid.
Oh, Braintree, Massachusetts.
Every time I bet this Derek Lewis guy, he knocks somebody out. He's the betting underdog this weekend at UFC 265. He's got 25 minutes to land that wicked overhand bomb. Am I crazy?
Well, the question is, am I supposed to answer Dave in Braintree in a Boston accent as well? So Derek Lewis, we mentioned right now, plus 290 or so on DraftKings Sportsbook. He's plus 450 to win by knockout, TKO, or DQ. So I don't think it's totally crazy that Derek Lewis could win this fight on point, but the prevailing wisdom is that if Derek Lewis wins this fight, it is going to be by knockout. So I don't know that you need to play the plus 250 or the plus 290. I would probably be looking at Derek Lewis plus 450 to win by knockout, TKO, or DQ.
From Raw MMA News, UFC 265 is stacked. Can you give me one or two underdogs who I can make bank on this weekend?
Well, can't necessarily give you those underdogs straight up because I'm calling the fights, and that would be a major conflict of interest. I will tell you, though, for our matchmakers, Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard, it's always music to their ears when we have a lot of pick'em fights, when we have a lot of fights that the odds makers and the bookmakers are having a hard time distinguishing who should be a betting favorite. Ultimately, for any odds maker out there, you're trying to draw two-way action, which means you want to draw wagers on both sides. But a lot of these fights are very evenly matched right now. I've seen some sharps out there who like Anderson Dos Santos in the plus 175 range against Miles Johns in a fight that has just been delayed a few weeks. Michael Chiesa, Angela Hill, very slight underdogs, but I have seen some public opinion on those two underdogs as well. And maybe a look at Pedro Munoz if you like him at even money. But I don't know. I think, again, for a lot of the big fights on this card, they are going to command two-way action right up to fight time, and that is exactly the way the bookmakers want it. All right, Cody, we got any more?
That is it for Q&A.
Hashtag anecdotes if you would like to be considered for our next edition in advance of UFC at 266. All right, so we did the pilot episode of Anecdotes before the Poirier-McGregor trilogy, and it seemed like a lot of people's favorite segment was Rip Up Your Ticket. So that is when I talk about all of my losing bets from the past few weeks. So, dumbest bet I made this past week. Oh, it was not a great week overall. I went 0-6 on my Olympic proposition. So I bet on 6 different swimmers, either individuals or in a team medley. I went 0 for 6 on my Olympic swimming props. And then I went 1 for 4 in my baseball bets on the run line last week. So if you take those 11 bets in their totality, 1-11, did quite well on the Major League Baseball front, but the Olympics have not been kind. I might have to do like a suspend myself from the rest of the Tokyo Games because I think I'm like 1-8 overall betting the Olympics, and I've said to a lot of people in this audience in the past that I do enjoy betting the Olympics, but I'm bleeding. I am in the red on the 2021 Olympic Games in Tokyo. All right, Anik's action. Where is my action this week? As you might expect, as you heard off the top of the show. A lot of Major League Baseball plays, as always. And I think now is really the time of year after the Major League Baseball trading deadline that you can really hone in on the good teams and kind of ride them a little bit. I know that is a gross generalization, but when I look at the race in the National League East right now, you got the Mets, you got the Phillies, you got the Atlanta Braves. Braves, by the way, I think pretty juicy at plus 450 on DraftKings right now. But if one of those teams gets hot, I would be inclined to ride that team. The Mets right now are the favorite to win the National League East, about minus 245 on DraftKings, but they have not come out of the break very well. And I'm just not sure with DeGrom on the DL. I think the Braves might be the team to emerge in the National League East. But again, nothing like betting baseball in August and September. And I also do think if you like the New York Yankees to make a run, plus 750 right now in the AL East. And obviously, the additions that they made at the deadline, Anthony Rizzo, have paid immediate dividends. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Yankees right now with the Red Sox taking on a little bit of water, their longest losing streak of the year. Yanks plus 750 to win the AL East. But my action this week is on golf because somehow I've hit 3 outright winners on the PGA and European tours over the last 7 weeks. Now, not all of these selections have been mine. I got to shout out the Vegas legend, Smoking Dave Koken. Had a hit on England's Daniel Gavins, came from 7 down Sunday to get his first win on the European Tour, and we were riding him there. So thank you to Smoking Dave Koken. But this week, PGA Tour is at the WGC FedEx St. Jude Invitational, TPC Southwind, Memphis, Tennessee. DraftKings has so many opportunities for you to bet this tournament. Outright winner, top 5, top 10, all the props you can handle, bro. And Brooks Koepka is the betting favorite at 11-1. He won this tournament 2 years ago in 2019. Also played well there last year. You can also have him at plus 275 to finish top 5. Generally speaking, what I do, I bet 3 or 4 golfers. I'll take a favorite and then a couple of long shots. So Dustin Johnson right now 18-1 on DraftKings, as high as 20-1 in some other spots. I've seen some sharp opinion on DJ. I think he's going to play well, and I eventually think he's going to right the ship and start to win some tournaments. And when he does, usually laps the field. So I can understand why people see Dustin Johnson valued this weekend. Justin Thomas, JT, won it last year at 13 under. He's 16-1 right now. You know, I want some Jordan Spieth action in current form, especially the way he played in the Open not all that long ago. My twin brother says he's an absolute head case, though, and told me to steer clear. But Spieth, 12-1, 14-1 or so. He's going to be my pick among the favored golfers. And my long shots, the Mexican-American Abraham Answer, 35-1. I think he is due. He's played this track well in the past. And then the Canadian Corey Connors. I played this guy a lot. I know he only has one career PGA Tour win, but a 55-1 long shot on DraftKings right now. And I have a small wager on Corey Connors to get it done in Memphis, Tennessee this weekend. All right, that's going to do it on the golf stuff. Sorry, ladies, I'm not the golfing type. But again, as a guy like me who has been betting on sports essentially every day since 1996, I love having a few golfers that I can check on over the weekend. All right, if you enjoyed today's segment to whatever extent, let us know on Twitter. Questions and comments are welcome. The hashtag is Anecdotes. You can follow DraftKings on social media at DraftKings on all channels. And for the DraftKings Sportsbook, it is at DK Sportsbook on Twitter, and on Instagram, it is at DraftKings_Sportsbook. Of course, plenty more UFC 265 coverage from DraftKings from Houston, Texas this weekend, right up through Fight Night. And we will have a new episode of Anecdotes in advance of UFC 266 next month from Las Vegas, Nevada. Of course, can't wait to see all of you this weekend live on pay-per-view for UFC 265. Lewis versus Gane. Thanks to our producer, Cody Merrow, and everybody at DraftKings. I'm Jon Anik. We will see you next month in advance of UFC 266. Until then, put your phone down while you're driving. See you later.